Hello and welcome to the Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 212 for Friday, September 19, 2025. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantain App, and this is an event that we do every week. Today's topic is Open Lines Friday. We have a few things to talk about, but not a whole lot prepared, so hopefully you have some things that you've brought. This is an event that we do again every week. This is open to everyone. We get together and talk about what's going on, changes coming down the line with Plantain App, but most importantly, the things that you're dealing with and maybe getting some help with those or showing off some techniques that you have. We record all of them, put them on YouTube at youtube.com/plantainapp. And we do this agenda week by week. We stop and say hello for a minute, and then we always deal with first call, anything that got submitted in advance. And then after a while, we talk about, well, anything you want to. We'll look at the community, the contributions to our Campfire website, things like that. But then after an hour or so, we'll go into our Afterglow segment, turn off the recording, and enjoy each other for just a little bit longer. So do engage with us. You can submit questions, topics, anything you want to talk about in advance. Just send an email to support@plantainapp.com. So with that, happy Friday. Welcome, Don. Welcome, Mark.
Hello, hello.
Hello there.
Did either of you bring something that you wanted to talk about today? And hello, Jim, connecting.
I'm pretty sure Don did.
Well, okay, since you asked, um,
We did.
the last couple of days, I saw a couple of problems, not with Planet App, with DNN. A couple of the sites were getting sluggish, and I was starting to look at things. I wanted to do some upgrades to some things, and I noticed something that got me a little nervous. So I wanted to ask. The site I had was DNN version 9.13.4, I think it was. It is a Plantain App site as well. And I have upgraded it to 9.13.9, but I'm getting ahead of myself. When it was 9.13.4, you know how on the persona bar it says you should update DNN if it's not the latest. You get the little update. This one was a bigger, brighter update. And when I looked at it, it said that it's critical to move to 10.10. I think we're at 10.11 something. And so I looked and tried to find where the critical stuff was, and I did find it under community. And here's my question is what's Planet App's support for the 10 world?
It will be supported in version 1.28.
Gotcha.
So we're currently on 1.27, so it's not supported, and you will encounter problems if you try to upgrade.
Okay, so it's known, don't do it.
Correct.
Gotcha. All righty. And the relative timing for 128, is there an ETA? Is it a when it's done? Is it a we're expecting next month? Is it a what?
The last that I heard, I would think I would expect 2 months. Um, I think we're at the spot where we're trying to close off features, so now it's about going for stability, going through some QA, and we expect that process to take a couple of months. So I would say this fall.
Got it. I saw something on the Discord. Daniel said that he typically doesn't keep two major things going, but I would argue that there's a lot of people that haven't adopted version 10 yet. And that, I know some of the module developers have, but not everybody has. Um, is there any discussion you folks are having with any of those folks to try to keep the 9.13 series, put in the patches to fix these vulnerabilities that they've identified that they now have in fixed in 10.1?
I have to say uh, I don't know what's going on elsewhere in the company, but I wasn't aware that there were specific vulnerabilities, so I'm not too much help, I guess.
Got it. Alrighty.
Let's see. So I thought I had seen that. Oh, let's see where we got. I'm trying to figure out where these messages appear. I know I've seen a red update thing here recently, and uh,
Yeah, I see that on any non-configuration page. So when you're in configuration, I never see the DNN logo.
I'll warn you, I'm on hotel internet today, so I'm seeing a little bit of sluggishness. So I'm not sure that I'm seeing the I'm not sure I'm getting everything rendered here.
Gotcha.
I was on this site yesterday, and I thought maybe this might be where I was seeing that message. I had just assumed it was the normal DNN upgrade message. Okay, here we go. This is the one we're seeing. Yep.
That's it.
Okay. And yeah, I'm not familiar with what the issues are, or um,
And they don't want to say, and I think
sure,
that's very smart. You don't say, yeah, if you do X, you'll blow up a system. You don't want to put that up on
sure,
YouTube.
but
So,
knowing that there are issues. So um, I will find out where we are internally with what the issues are and make sure that the appropriate people are aware that we have these critical things they can dig in. But um, to our normal plan is that our next release deal each release we advance the compatible version, and so the question, I mean, to me becomes, do we uh, stop and say, well, we need to support DNN 10 at our current 127 version, and what's required to do that? I know there are conflicts. I don't know.
well, with that in mind, I'll send you the link that Daniel sent me that
Uh-huh.
gives you some idea of what the issues are. And your folks,
Yeah,
if
I'll
you
pass that on.
you have it, I'll do that to you. I'll send that over via email.
And they may be aware. I'm just, I'm
Probably.
not in the middle of the development loop. Okay. So great question.
All right, Mark, you're up.
I don't think I have anything yet. At least I'll remember about 15 minutes before we're done.
Excellent. I'll put you down for 10:45. All right. Hello. Several people have joined since. Welcome, welcome. Anybody with a first call? All right, I'm going to start the discussion. Maybe we'll get into something. Um, so we've talked recently about the idea that we're doing Forms 2.0, new version of Forms. It's not a direct replacement. It will require upgrade. Most of the features that you use in Action Forms will go into Forms 2.0. But part of this, so the question that I was asked, and I would bring up with this esteemed group, was about the events on validation section and whether this is necessary for our Forms 2.0 product. So before I even get into it, this was a new area for me. It's just one of those things I skipped over. It's a dark corner for me. Anybody using the on validation section of events? Does anybody know what it does?
I don't think so.
So to me, that's a pretty good vote for you're not going to care if we don't port it into the new one. Anybody interested in seeing what it is so that you can think about it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see if I can find it here. Well, I know I can. Let's go there. I set up a demonstration of this in the Campfire website. I haven't set it as a contribution. I just added it in here. So let's dig down and find it. So this is, I really super simplified this because this is uh, I, I, the beginning of a contact form. I just have two fields. They're both required. They're both set as required in the interface. And notice that if you click into the first one and it's just lets you start typing. But when you tab into the second one or tab back to the first one, you start all this client side validation logic that I think we're all familiar with is activated. It's trying to do the is required, and if you had any other validators, they would all be running. Um, so if I go in and edit this, so the setting, first of all, there is a setting that's by default checked, this enable client-side validation. And so this is the start of what we're talking about. If you turn this off, then you get a slightly different behavior. So I'm going to refresh and notice now that if I just tab between these fields, the validation logic isn't getting activated. If I click the button that's marked as a validator, that then we get the messages. So far, not too. I mean, that's one small difference that you can turn off. You can delay the validation until they hit the button. So then there's this section, and I've skipped over this so many times on validation failed. If you have that checkbox unchecked and you add stuff in here, display the error message, you can say, nope. And so now, just by virtue of having actions in there, when it doesn't pass validation, instead of showing all the required whatevers in place on the front end, it just runs your actions. So if it passes, well, I don't know what that is. It's an have something set up for an email validation. That shouldn't be. But let's see. So we got validation, no validators, first name, validation. I don't know how I have email triggered, so that's an interesting thing. But you can see it has a different behavior, and then through a little bit of experimentation, I discovered that so my standard debugging thing, I'm going to send the context to an array, I'm going to store it in tokens, and then I'm going to add an error message where we display our tokens so we can quickly get to what's here when we understand what's on the form at that point. And so I click send now, and so we see first name is empty, last name is empty, send now has nothing. But this validation errors is provided, and it tells you the error messages that are related to those, but it doesn't have any pointers to which field is broken, and there isn't any nice way of doing that. So you could display the validation errors token and plus any other actions that you wanted to do. But anyway, that's the behavior. I've never known it was there, and I've never missed it. So now that you know, what do you think?
It sounds like it might be a heavy lift to do the porting.
I'm sure that's the question. If nobody is using this previously, I mean, realizing, oh, I'm sorry, less words. Yes, I agree, Matt. I think it's probably they don't want to do it if it's not needed.
I don't know about anybody else, but I've never used it.
I've never used it. I mean, now that I see what it does,
Now we
it's
want to
an
use it.
no, I'm not even gonna say that really, honestly. I mean, I could see it being useful because if there is something that you need to do at the time of validation, something like this could just trap the fact that there was a validation error and you can trigger something else to do instead of having to write the code yourself. So I could see where it might be useful. Me personally, I've never used it.
And there are, I mean, so now back to the more words. There are other ways around this by uh, doing the validation within your action stack and throwing error messages there. You do get a chance to do other actions, and so you could do your own validation. And then one of the things that seemed a little bit odd to me on this was that if you just the presence of adding actions here changes the behavior, which is pretty undocumented, right? So if you don't have actions, then the validation still displays where it is. It just only happens during submit. So it's kind of an odd behavior, and I think there are other ways around it. You'll still be able to validate in the ways you're accustomed to. So
So is they ask the to remove the unvalidated validation failure list of actions, or to remove the settings that let you change the way the validation, the little checkbox that you found in setting?
the action form will not be changed at all. We're not going to do either of those things, but it won't be ported into Forms 2.0. You'll it's not it won't be considered a key feature that will be added. We're going to come out with it as
But
assuming you'll do
that,
validation in other ways.
yeah, but do they just want to remove the, not port the stack here
I think
under
they won't.
bullet
I,
five?
yeah, I don't think they'll port the stack, and I suspect they won't port the checkbox that's related to it. So validation will, if you turn on front end validations, they'll have to pass before your form gets submitted. Uh, that's just a guess, but and again, just remember where we are. 128 will include a preview, an early version of Forms 2.0, not for use, and so you'll start to see these things and be able to play with them. But that'd be for experimentation and understanding training.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Well, actually, I have two questions. Number one, I must have blinked. I missed what checkbox were you talking about with regards to validation?
In the settings, there is this one.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Um, the other question is with regards to Forms 2.0. Um, I'm excited to see it, and at the same token, I'm terrified because of the fact that it's used so much in the systems that I've written, and I'm sure everyone has. My question is, will you also be offering us some sort of a utility to convert our existing forms to a Forms 2.0 version?
So my understanding is there will not be a global, let's switch everything to Forms 2.0.
Not necessarily a global,
yeah,
but at least a utility where we could say, okay, this form module ID, I would like to convert it or, create a Forms 2.0 and take everything that's there and port it over.
yes, and there is that's definitely the intention. I don't know whether it's whether it's an export, whether it's a change this to Forms 2.0. I don't know what it's going to look like, but the intention is that you'll be able to move a particular form into Forms 2.0 and start working with it, realizing that it's going to be like 90% of the features. Not every feature of Forms is going to be supported. And so that then it will, and that's why there won't be a global thing. You'll have to test and make sure that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I understand that there's going to be some breaking changes and things of that
Mm,
nature. I mean, the other thing too would be, I would just say, I think it would benefit everyone if those breaking changes are very, very, very explicitly stated somewhere for us for when we first start doing this. But having a utility to do that conversion, and I'm not expecting it to be like a global, convert every single form because, like you said, that could end up creating so many errors that you'll have to run around trying to find them all. But at the very least, on a form by form case, to convert them, I think is something that, in my view, is a requirement
yeah,
because the idea of having to do that by hand,
to redo the forms, absolutely.
yeah,
That would be
that's a nightmare.
yes. So absolutely, they all. I think that assumption was baked in from the beginning that there would be some way to convert a form, and I just haven't seen it happen yet, so I don't know what it looks like when it does. But um, yep, and uh, kind of going back to why I mean, there'll be new features in Forms 2.0, better layout and a better builder experience, but I think core to it is removing older technologies that sometimes flag um, uh, the what whatever the best practices or penetration test kind of things. I think your organization particularly is interested in that. So, I mean, it's a growing pain, right? It will be different. We need it to be different, but there's a lot of them. So what do we do? I'm sure as I get more, we'll be doing cafes and campfires on them, but it's um, I haven't seen another preview since the last time I mentioned it. Somebody say something. I'm not sure I'm still live.
You are live.
You're
Excellent,
live,
excellent.
David.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I mentioned last week, and I never got any feedback, but the idea that if you develop extensions like custom actions, where if you're opening up C# and compiling some stuff and coming out with DLLs that you link into Plant an App, number one, that's a great feature. We call it pro coding, and there's some changes coming to that if you do any of that, or if you use anybody who has done that for you, and so you have custom actions, things that aren't done anywhere else. If we've done it for you, not a problem. But if uh, I mean, we'll know how to fix and build that when it comes to 128. But if you do it, open the conversation with us so that we can make sure to communicate it. Nothing else. It's just changes in the way that you talk to our DLLs. Did a couple of things in the documentation. Let's see if I can. Uh, so we've talked about this before, that when you go into uh, tokens, and we have this old feature that The old version of tokens allowed you to have different tokens and different portals, and we're moving towards a single platform. I mean, portals still exist, but tokens are global for across all portals now if you happen to use multiple portals. The original implementation of this was that everything on a my internet less than perfect. That you'd get a lot of these flags that says that portal specific namespaces are obsolete, and there was a procedure for changing them to be global. In our newer versions, this is happening automatically now. So if you have, for in my case, we have a data sets portal, excuse me, data sets namespace that has tokens under it. If I were to upgrade this, instead of giving an error message, it would just, because I don't have any portals that have a separate data sets namespace, it would just merge it, go on, and it would just do it automatically. It would turn it to global, and the problem would be solved. So when you see this message now in our later upgrades of 127, when you see it, it means that you do have the condition where you had multiple portals and different namespaces, the same namespace on different portals, and so you would need to understand how to fix that. And this documentation article explains basically you have to resolve.
Oh, we just lost your audio, Dale.
Thanks for that. How am I back yet?
Yep, you're back now.
Thank you. So if you have two different portals, same namespace, different names, you can just merge them together. It's a thing that you would do manually, but you could merge them if they have the same names but had different definitions. That's where it becomes a problem, and you'll have to rethink how you've done that. We think this is a very small use case, and hopefully we won't cause too much problems for people. But let's see. I'm going to switch off my. I know you guys like to see my face, but I'm going to switch off my video so that I'll preserve a little bandwidth. Okay. So that's one new topic. And then the other one is right here next to it. And this is kind of a coming soon to a theater near you. We're putting in some rules for object names. So this is going to be your API names, your workflow names, jobs, namespaces, entities as well. Well, entities are not yet. But the idea is that just to add a little bit of consistency, that you can have alphanumerics, you can have dash underscore space, but it has to start with numerics or an underscore. And
Not numeric. Character.
I'm sorry. Thank you. See, love it that you're paying attention. Characters or underscores, and can't start with those other things. So most of these rules were in effect, but now we're standardizing them across the different items. The API names, for example, that's almost a cosmetic attribute. The API, the rules for the URL for API is not changing. Though you can still have whatever you've had in the past, you can still have the actual URL doesn't change, but the name of it, which is a cosmetic attribute, if you happen to not conform to that, you'll have to change it when you're the next time you edit it. Same for workflows. If it doesn't validate, you'll have to change it, but that doesn't impact the way that a workflow gets used or called. So it won't be a a breaking change to change the name of the workflow. Automation jobs, the same thing. It's a cosmetic name for you to refer to it. So while we will make you change it to conform, it won't impact you. Namespace is the same way. Any questions or concerns about that? That'll be in 128. And so this is just a front-end validation. So when you upgrade, it's not going to warn you. It's not going to be a problem. It's just the first time you edit one that doesn't pass, you'll just have to change the name. We thought about doing this for entities as well, but it gets trickier with that because entities connect with tables. They also connect with menu options, and forcing you to change that would force the name of SQL tables and menu options, and you're likely referring to, or you could be referring to the SQL, likely referring to the SQL, with an existing name. So it wasn't cosmetic at all. So we have deferred making any changes in that area for entities. All right.
Hey, Dale, before you go on, I just want to say
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for taking the time to go over this with us, because at the moment, this may be, if you didn't go over it and we tripped over it, it would be a bad thing. But now you going over it is really helping guide us in the future, and I appreciate it.
Good. The other thing I hope you get out of it is that, week by week, we are enhancing the documentation. I think nobody would say that our previous documentation was something that was something that you could open up and get good answers all the time. But hopefully you'll start to get the idea that we're actively working on it and want it to be the place for you to know what's going on. So, but thanks for that. Campfire contributions, there isn't one except I have one in progress, and I'll mention it because I think it's a cool one. Maybe I'll finish it one of these days. So this is one I did. See, I didn't finish it, but the idea is that little bit of CSS that when you click the pager, that it automatically scrolls back to the top of the list on the next page. So, because without this little bit of CSS, clicking the pager, you stay at the bottom, and if you really want it's a convenient feature to be able to jump to that. And had I mentioned this? I don't think I've mentioned this before. It's just a little bit of JavaScript that gets connected to the navigation buttons. So I'll get that document, but at least it's in here, and I'll mention it. Well, this is all of it. If you want to, somebody seeing this after the fact, and you want to copy and paste, you got to get the script onto your page, and it'll do it. All right. Mark, I know it's still 10 minutes
If we
early.
put that a
Go ahead,
question
Jim.
about yeah, sorry, had the wrong mic button. If we put that script of yours someplace global, would that then tie to any grids that we run, or as far as we know, do we have to get that, go to each page and that we have a grid and implement that somehow.
So I'm not a JavaScript expert, but I suspect what this is it's going to target the closest one of these. So if you had two grids on the page, it wouldn't it would only attach to one. So you might need to enhance this a little bit to so that it will do all the grids that it finds. But yes, if to your question, if you added this script to a module or got it on the page throughout, then yes, every place where if you had one grid per page, it would automatically scroll to the top, I would think, on every one.
That's good. That's cool because that's one of those little annoying things that we can get rid of.
Yep. Cool.
Not yet, Dale.
Okay. Well, 9 minutes to go. Checking in on our community, there was a few things going on, and so there was a question about calendars, and a realization that we could use some improvement in the documentation for calendar view. But this was kind of an interesting one that being able to how to take advantage of the full day functionality of the calendar view. And I'm trying to essentially this was you're trying to do a date range, and if you do from date 1 to 3 days later, that all of the hours between on the days between, they're marked out 24 hours. It's not, you can't express 9 to 5 every day for the week. It's if you want to express 9 to 5, then you have to have different items on each day. If you use if you express 9 a.m. Monday to 5 p.m. Friday, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are showing up with 24 hours blocked. It's just a global block. And then there is a technique for showing there's an all day section, and they magically appear here if you're blocking out 12 a.m. one day to 12 a.m. the next day. Otherwise, they show up down below. So that's kind of an interesting question, interesting features that are built in there. Do I spark any questions on calendar? Let's see if I say.
So Dale, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I think what you're saying is that if you have a multi-day event with different start times, the answer is they all have to be basically the same, or 24 hours. You can't have, like you said, 9 to 5 per day sort of thing, or different start times per day. Like I'm thinking about a conference or something like that.
Right. If I can get logged in on this site, it's probably easier to demonstrate the problem. So first of all, if I were to add an item that is, and let's do a Monday through Friday, Monday at 9 a.m. to Friday at 5 p.m. So if we look at it, in the month view, we're seeing 9 to 5 and across the board. If we look at it from a week view standpoint, and go back and find that week, we're seeing the first day 9, the last day it ends at 5, but all the other days it's blocking 24 hours. Ideally, I mean, this might be a valid definition, but if you're trying to do a conference, these middle blocks should probably be 9 to 5, right? Not 24 hour.
Oh,
So
Well, I would normally think it'd be 9 to 5 on the day, and then you set a repeat rule
right,
of some
and
sort.
yeah, and we don't have a repeat rule functionality. So I'm going to put this back into data table view so that I can edit it. So you can, one answer would be to have to block it by putting multiple events. So this is going to give you um, 9 to 5 on that. Let me find it again here. So you can get 9 to 5 blocking one day, and you'd have to have another one to do the other day. You'd have to have 5 events to get it to be.
so in
New
that
feature
case,
request.
yeah, could you, let's say there's a, multi-day conference, 9 to 5, let's say. Could you have it, if it's automatically add as part of the stack additional days? Let's say it's the next day it's 10 till 12. You sign up for one thing. No, you probably. Do you know what I mean? In other words, you did 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and you got the whole 24 hours for the following days. Is there a way to automatically have it go, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 9 to 5 by essentially hidden actions?
Well, yeah, I mean,
So
you're the one in control of the data itself. The calendar is just displaying it. So wouldn't that just be part of your form where that you've designed to create that? Or am
Uh,
I misunderstanding?
no, you're probably not. I'm just wondering, is there essentially, I haven't used Calendar, so I'm completely, green on this, but is there a way to add essentially an action which says kind of auto book sort of thing?
So Ben's answer is exactly on point. That if you look at the settings of calendar view, it's being controlled by when does the event start and when does it end, and so these are fields within your data. So the SQL data source that we're using, in this case, it's pointing directly to an entity with a field called starting at and ending at. So the behavior of the calendar is to block all the time between starting at and ending at as 24 hour. And so if you want a different visual, then you have to either add more data in this case, since it's an entity, you'd have to add more data to the entity. If it was SQL, you could be very tricky and come up with more rows. Uh, each row is going to get mapped onto the calendar. And so if somehow you end up with the days between having dates with 9 to 5 or 10 to 3 or whatever you want, they'll each row is going to be mapped onto the calendar, but it's your responsibility. Short of that, this is the behavior.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And then the fact that we have again this all day thing that shows up here at the top is based on you as the. Um, as the person in charge of the data, have to do something like this, where you're saying, so if you block uh, between midnight of one day, midnight to the next day, and say is full day, doesn't matter what it shows up magically in the all day block, not um, not down in the calendar, but it's based on selecting all the hours. If you
Is there any way to get rid of that time at the top?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's go back to my definition here. I think um, title month. No, this is. I thought it was um, a configurable, but it's showing the starting time and the ending time in the calendar.
Yeah,
So
I mean, just me personally, I would think if you're going to separate it out to an all day thing, all day is pretty much uh, implied, and the time doesn't really need to be shown. I think the time
yep.
users would look at that and be like, "What? 12 a.m.?" You know, like it just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. At that point, just remove the time because it's separated on an all day
Yep.
marker anyway.
So um, the it with the all day is a true false, a boolean, and uh, if it's false, then it renders in the it blocks the all the hours instead of showing up in the all day section. So anyway, that's the behavior. You can I think in the case of the community question that didn't understand how to use the behavior. Now, whether it's the best way that we could have implemented, that's another question. But
Is that all day always there? In other words, suppose you just simply don't want to use that configuration option.
you yes, you don't have to pick the is full day. Um, you don't have to choose this, or you can return a false for it, and then it just gets a. Oh, I'm sorry. I think the all day block remains regardless,
Okay.
if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, yes.
I, I wonder, there's probably CSS that you could do to hide it out, but I don't know that to be true. Come on.
Hmm.
I suspect you could again find CSS that would hide the row
Okay.
if you didn't want it. So, but somebody smarter than me, you'd have to look for this. It's probably this class here, and then back up to the TR and hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Your intern probably knows how to do that.
True that.
Let's see. This one was where it was. Somebody asked about our backup and restore procedures, which if you're hosting with us, that's it's kind of one-click functionality to do a backup and to also to get a restore. I think I have some screenshots. So very cool feature if you're hosting with us. Lots of discussion about well, this is older, but using server session, using session variables. Um, when we get to 128, there's some discussion about session variables as well. I think that we are I know that we're going to be making some changes in this area, and there's going to, from what I can tell, there's going to be a let's stick with the old behavior. Let's go with the new mechanism. There'll be a switch, and basically there's some things around session that can end up causing you blocking the same page trying to access the same browser trying to access the same page at the same time. There's some things in session that can set up some blocking things. So we're looking at doing another mechanism that you'll be able to opt into that will activate a different session behavior. So I'll know more about that as we get closer, and I'll bring it to your attention so that you can be on the lookout for choosing into it or not. All right, Mark, I've given you 6 extra minutes. Are we there, or is it time to go to Afterglow? Anyone else, seriously, anybody else that wants to?
No, I don't have anything. Thanks for asking.
Sure. This is old. What we already talked about today, the on validation, I think that was, like I say, I think that was a dark corner. Anybody else experience something that you hadn't found in the product before? It always amazes me how much gets in there. All right. I'm going to call it there. We'll end 8 minutes early today. Thanks for joining us for Low-Code Campfire. If you have a few minutes, hang around for our Afterglow segment, and we will do it again next Friday.